Remember the Reddit Blackout? Of course you do. It was the time when anytime you Googled something and added Reddit at the end, you know, for better results, this fun little pop-up showed up. Yeah, I do not miss that. Anyways, did that ever, like, actually do anything? Did it ever accomplish its goal? I mean, here we are over 1 year later, and I feel like no one really knows what happened to it. What about all the subreddits? I mean, they were all locked in preparation for the protest, but how many of them are still locked? Thankfully, my favorite subreddit, Fat Squirrel Hate, isn't locked. What would I do without you? First, let's make sure we're on the same page here. The Reddit blackout occurred between June 12 to 14 last year and was in response to recent changes in Reddit's API policy. And if you don't know what an API is, it kind of lets outsiders access their data. Not to get too nerdy. To sum it up, basically you had services that use this API for free until suddenly Reddit's like, now you're gonna have to pay us. And one of the most popular of these services, Apollo, discovered if they were to continue with their app, it would cost them like $20 million annually. Kind of a stark increase from like potentially optional donations to needing the revenue of like a fucking tech startup from San Francisco. So rightfully so, a lot of people were upset because they use these services and now they might not be able to. Or even worse, they might have to pay. Now look, fellas, Redditors, they may be the laughingstock of the internet, but you gotta realize how tight-knit the communities they form are, okay? You basically took a group of the most spiteful, passive-aggressive, and unfunny people and f***ed them over, okay? This is not gonna end okay. Okay? Or is it? Basically, a bunch of mods banded together and formed the aforementioned blackout, a period of time where a bunch of subreddits would be locked in protest. I guess this was meant to show the admins they mean business. I mean, sites like Reddit rely on people posting stuff. Like, hypothetically, one day, a site like Reddit or Twitter could just die if nobody uploads something. Please, just one day without Twitter. I remember there was a live stream around the beginning of the blackout, and it would show which subreddits are getting locked. It was pretty interesting to see the flood of subreddits that would pop up when the clock struck midnight, you know, subreddits like r/gaming, r/funny, the normal kind. But then there would be a pause so heavy it could crack reinforced steel. And then boom, just an avalanche of subreddits like r/feetpics. Why God, why so many NSFW subreddits? It was a wild time, okay? I would say it was the one real life example of Redditors assemble. Like, I can't believe I literally just said that out loud, but here we are. In fact, here's a list of a bunch of subreddits that agreed to join. I'm not sure if it's the full exhaustive list, but yeah, it's pretty long and there's some pretty big subreddits up there. There is kind of a major problem with this protest though, something that's even kind of funny. The thing is, this protest had a very public end date. Huh? Like, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't the whole point of a protest that it doesn't really have an end date in sight, that they'll keep going until their demands are met? Am I crazy for thinking this? On top of that, the end date was literally 2 days after it started. 2 fucking days! It takes like 1 week to get a package delivered from Amazon if you don't have Prime, and like even longer to get a fucking test back from school. Sure, some subreddits were closed longer, maybe a week, maybe a month, maybe even indefinitely. More on that in a minute. But this whole end date made it kind of pointless. I mean, the higher ups at Reddit can just wait it out and act like nothing ever happened. I mean, wouldn't you? Especially when the changes you're bringing could line your pockets tenfold? This only further exasperates the joke about Redditors being lame. I mean, putting on a whole show of solidarity, unity, and protest only for 2 days later to act like nothing ever happened? I mean, is this some sort of sitcom episode? In fact, in researching this video, I was curious to see which subreddits actually had the balls to stay dark forever. I couldn't find a list, but it seemed like every subreddit I found that was supposed to stay dark forever was now open. Now, I wasn't sure if this was because the mods were just so tantalized by the chances at losing precious internet points, or if this was the admin's dirty work. So I looked a little deeper. Here is r/Malcolm in the middle. Okay, don't ask why this specifics. It's the first one I could find, okay? Anyways, this subreddit was planned to be closed indefinitely, but its bio says it's been under new management since January of this year. So it seems like if you really did have the balls to close your subreddit forever, the admins would just reopen it. Bravo, admins, acting just like the users you moderate. Here's your Reddit gold. I'm surprised more people aren't talking about this, and I'm even kind of disappointed by whoever took the new management position. I think they should have honored the final request of the mod team that let the subreddit rot because of Reddit's poor decision making. However, the subreddit's closing weren't the only forms of protest. A lot of individual protest was made by people using scripts to edit their old comments to something along the lines of "me no like you Reddit change." something like that. This is actually probably something meaningful. I mean, who knows? Maybe the admins would even stoop as low as to reverse these changes too, but it definitely leaves a more meaningful impact than no doggo pupper memes for 2 days. Of course, there were also talks about switching to a new platform, with one specific site called Lemmy gaining a lot of traction. If I'm being real though, I don't think this would ever work. On paper, maybe, but realistically, once you're used to a platform, it's really hard to switch. It almost has control over you, which is a totally different issue, but equally as bad. But what about the services that were planned to be affected? Well, Apollo, for starters, got shut down. They had one final update on their subreddit where the creator released a commemorative wallpaper along with a note where they seem genuinely devastated they have to shut down the app. I couldn't find a full list with all the services that got affected, but it seems like most got shut down, with the exception of Narwhal, Relay, and Now for Reddit, which seemingly all switched to become paid services. Some of them even switched to subscription models, which I'm getting the shivers just hearing that. Now, an important question. Will anything ever be done about this? Well, here's the thing. As the CEO of Reddit u/Spez wrote himself, to the dismay of many, Reddit is a for-profit company that is still not profitable, which means they're gonna continue trying to become profitable. What this means is expect new and continuous ways of getting your ass handed to you on Reddit, whether it be more ads, more Reddit coins or gold, or less user privacy. It's not looking great. In fact, in their own totally honest words, the new pricing model is to, quote, ensure developers have the tools and information they need to continue to use Reddit safely, protect our users' privacy and security, and adhere to local regulations. Yeah, sure. Definitely. I just think they forgot one teeny tiny part. The part where they make money. It's worth noting this decision seems almost in parallel with a similar decision made by Twitter where they skyrocketed their API costs. How high did they skyrocket them to? To just about $42,000 a month. $42,000 a month. Do you realize how much money that is? How much Funko Pops and Reddit gold and coins you can buy with that amount of money? And for what? You get access to this API and you find out, yeah, Twitter's run by bots. Big surprise there. Now, why might Twitter do this? Well, Twitter also doesn't make any money, so that's a pretty convincing reason. There are some popular fan theories though, some that can be applied to both Twitter or Reddit. One of them is along the lines of lay company is lay bad and they want to control lay people. Basically, if you make the API expensive enough, nobody will question your antics. Another more interesting one is that these increased API prices might be trying to capitalize off the whole AI craze. Basically, these AI developers need a boatload of information, and these sites are perfect for that. They have a plethora of human interactions on them. So, it's pretty safe to say this whole blackout protest didn't really do much. Ultimately, all these changes do is leave users with a sour taste in their mouth and execs with more money in their pockets. Subscribe!